Welcome back, digital friend. I'm Diedrich, your host and digital friend. If episodes 1 through 3 were the diagnosis and the previous episode was the prescription, then today is the acknowledgement. Today's episode is a little different. We're not rallying, we're resting, we're reflecting. Because if you've been feeling the weight of everything we've talked about, the war for emotional sovereignty, the future of emotional truth, the need to protect what makes us human, you're not alone. That weight you're feeling, that's real. That's what emotional awakening feels like when it first cracks open inside you. So today we're going to talk about that heaviness, why it shows up, why it matters, and how to carry it without letting it break you. This isn't about being perfect. This is about staying human, especially when it's hard. Let's get into it. Let me just say this. Awareness isn't weightless. Emotional sovereignty comes with emotional fatigue. And if you're feeling that tiredness right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Before we go any further, I want to tell you something personal. Because emotional fatigue, it's not just theory to me, it's something I survived. It didn't happen overnight. It was slow erosion. One ping, one after hours email, one late night scroll session at a time. My phone wasn't a tool anymore. It was an extension of my nervous system. And at the same time, the emotional labor in my relationships wasn't even. I was the safe place, the fixer, the emotional first responder, even when my own tank was bone dry. Eventually, all those tiny fractures became cracks I couldn't patch anymore. And I broke down, not because I was weak, but because I was carrying more than one human was meant to carry alone. So when I talk about emotional fatigue, I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you. From the other side of something I wouldn't wish on anyone, but that taught me lessons I'll never unlearn. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been carrying more than your share, and you were never meant to carry it alone. So let's talk about why emotional fatigue happens and how we can start to reclaim our strength, one breath at a time. The 3 hidden causes of emotional fatigue. 1. Emotional overexposure. Every scroll, every tap, every breaking news alert, your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a digital jolt. It just knows something's happening, and it reacts. Without boundaries, digital spaces become emotional fire hoses, soaking us with invisible stress. Here's a quick tip. Create sacred scroll-free zones. Pick one place, your car, your bed, your dining table, where your nervous system gets a break from constant emotional stimulation. Not because tech is bad, but because your emotions deserve space to breathe. 2. Emotional disempowerment. Most digital platforms aren't designed for your empowerment. They're engineered for your reaction. Algorithms reward outrage, urgency, and impulsivity, not reflection. When you're constantly pushed to react, not reflect, exhaustion creeps in. Try this. When you feel triggered online, pause and ask, is this my emotion? Or the platform's incentive structure pushing me? That tiny question is a sovereignty practice. You're pulling yourself back into authorship of your own emotions. 3rd, emotional double work. Staying emotionally sovereign in the digital world means constantly swimming upstream, resisting platforms that want to monetize your feelings. It's invisible labor most people don't even realize they're doing, and it's heavy. Here's one last tip. Give yourself permission to log off without closure. You don't owe the internet an explanation every time you need to protect your peace. You don't have to stay in every thread, answer every comment, validate every conversation. Logging off is not quitting, it's reclaiming. Now, we've walked through the 3 hidden causes of emotional fatigue: emotional overexposure, emotional disempowerment, and emotional double work. But I don't want these to stay theoretical for you. These aren't just ideas. These are real struggles lived by real people, like people I've walked with, listened to, and learned from. People who gave me permission to share their experiences with you. So if you'll trust me, I want you to walk with me for a moment. Step into their shoes. Feel what they felt. see how each hidden cause played out and what it looked like to start turning the tide. Let's start by walking through emotional overexposure, the world where every scroll, every ping, every headline feels like a fresh emotional wound. Walk with me into what that really looks like. Imagine waking up and immediately scrolling through a flood of breaking news and social media updates. Each alert spikes your anxiety, but you keep scrolling, hoping for a moment of relief that never comes. One day, you realize your heart races every time your phone buzzes, and your mind can't settle even when you're offline. A friend shares how she created a scroll free zone in her bedroom. At first, it felt strange and lonely, but over weeks, she noticed her sleep improved and her mood lifted. That small boundary became a sanctuary for her overwhelmed nervous system. A colleague recalls a day when constant news alerts made her snap at a loved one. She felt guilty afterward, but understood it was the invisible emotional overload from digital noise. That moment sparked her commitment to limit her digital exposure and reclaim calm. Now take another step with me into the quieter, heavier place where it's not the flood of information that wears you down. It's the slow erosion of your own emotional agency. This is emotional disempowerment, and it feels like this. A man tells how he used to react instantly to every provocative post online, feeling drained and angry. One day, he paused and asked himself, is this my feeling or the platform pushing me to react? That question gave him a moment of choice and shifted his emotional experience. A woman shares how she realized her emotional responses were often shaped by online outrage culture. She started journaling her feelings before responding to anything digital, which helped her reconnect with her own voice instead of the algorithms. A young professional describes the exhaustion of always feeling on for social media engagement. She began practicing emotional sovereignty by setting limits on when and how she interacted, learning to say no without guilt, and reclaiming her emotional power. And now, let's walk one more road together into the invisible labor of emotional double work, the weight of carrying your own feelings while holding up everyone else's too. This is what emotional double work sounds like. A parent recounts being the emotional rock for their family while also managing their own stress silently. They often felt invisible and exhausted, but didn't know how to ask for help or set boundaries without feeling selfish. A teacher shares how she used to reply to every message and comment from students and parents, even after hours. Eventually, she realized this emotional double work was burning her out and started turning off notifications to protect her peace. A friend talks about the guilt of logging off social media during a crisis. She worried she was abandoning others, but learned that stepping back was necessary self-care, not quitting. That permission to disconnect became a radical act of reclaiming her emotional sovereignty. And here's the truth. You don't have to master all of this overnight. You don't have to be perfect at it. You only have to stay awake, stay aware, and when you're tired, and you will get tired, you rest. You don't quit. Emotional sovereignty will tire you out sometimes. Fighting to stay human in a system built to flatten you, that's sacred work. That's why I think it's important to say this out loud. You're not the only one who's tired. I know what it feels like to be carrying it all. The emotional labor that nobody sees. The digital pings you can't ignore. The pressure to show up, speak up, stay connected, even when you're breaking a little inside. I know what it feels like to scroll through news cycles until your heart aches. To check your phone first thing in the morning, even when you promised yourself you wouldn't. To feel the small sting of invisible comparisons online. I know what it feels like to hit your emotional bandwidth limit and still pretend you're fine. And if you're nodding along right now, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're awake. And being awake hurts sometimes. But being awake also means you can heal. You can rebuild. You can reclaim your emotional space, piece by piece, breath by breath. Before we close today, I want to leave you with a different kind of list. Because if you're feeling tired, if you're questioning whether you're making progress, if you're wondering if emotional sovereignty is even possible for you, now let me tell you something. Growth doesn't always look like fireworks. It looks like friction. It looks like emotional exhaustion after you set a boundary you used to avoid. It looks like pausing before you doom scroll and noticing the urge, even if you don't catch it every time. It looks like feeling everything more clearly and realizing that clarity is heavy, but it's honest. If you're feeling any of these things, you're not broken. You're building. You're not failing. You're forging a new way of being. Sovereignty doesn't arrive as a trophy. It arrives quietly in the small, tired moments where you choose to stay awake to your own humanity. So if you're tired, good. It means you're in the arena. But you don't have to white knuckle it alone. There are tools, there are practices. There is a way to build emotional endurance that honors your humanity, not erases it. You know, this episode is heavy. It wasn't my intention to make it heavy, but I'm not going to pretend the weight isn't real either. And if you're feeling it, I want to offer you a small gift. It's called the 54321 Grounding Sensory Check-In. And it goes like this. Look around and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. No right, no wrong, no rush. Just you, anchoring yourself back into your now. Sometimes sovereignty looks like slowing down long enough to feel yourself breathing again. And sometimes that's enough. Next time, we'll keep building. We'll explore science-backed emotional reset tools that can help you interrupt doom scrolling, reclaim your emotional baseline, and create space for something more honest than exhaustion. So, if you're feeling stretched thin by the digital world, stay with me. There's a way through this. And it doesn't start with stronger algorithms. It starts with stronger emotions. Rest up, digital friend. You're not falling apart. You're building something stronger. Stay emotionally sovereign, stay digitally smart, and remember, stronger emotions, not stronger algorithms. I'm Diedrich, your host and digital friend, and I'll see you next time.